Also, Fannie Mae is coming out that in 2026, they believe interest rates are going to drop below 6%. It's going to be the high fives is what they're predicting, but what is going to happen with the Fed, the Reserve meeting, and there is a 96% chance that they're going to cut rates by 0.25%. So 96% chance, cut rates 0.25%. And Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, about they're going to continue lower rates. They're more fearful. Welcome to the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. For this show, we're going to talk about Fannie Mae's Home Sentiment Index for September. Also, the CME Group has predictions for the next two federal fund meetings, if the Fed is going to lower rates or not. But let's jump into the Fannie Mae Home Sentiment Index. And we're going to show you these numbers up on the screen so you'll be able to see these as well. Number one, buyers. What do buyers feel? What is the sentiment of buyers? Is it a good time to buy? Well, only 27% say right now is a good time to buy. So that means 73% is saying it's not a good time to buy. So, hey, there's some headwinds here because buyers are saying it's not a good time to buy. Now, why are they saying that? It could be a million reasons. It could be they think interest rates are too high, the values of homes, the affordability part of it is too high, the values are too high, who knows, but the sentiment is 27, no bueno, no good. They don't think it's a good time to buy. Now, what are sellers thinking? Well, sellers are saying that 57% of them think it's a good time to sell, while 41 say it's a bad time to sell. Now, that's going to depend on geography. Where are you? So I guarantee if you're in Texas, you're in Florida, you're out in Arizona, those numbers are probably much higher, saying, hey, it's not a good time to sell because they have a glut of inventory. But there's other areas, like up in the Northeast, where there's still a shortage of properties and there's still higher demand. So it's really going to depend where you're at. But sellers are saying right now, nationwide, if we're looking at, the 30,000 view from above, 57% say it's a good time to buy, 41 saying it's a bad time to buy. Now, mortgage rates. What do people think mortgage rates are going? Now, are mortgage rates going to go down? Well, 32% of the people think mortgage rates are going to go down, while 30% say they're going to go up. So that's pretty much even. Like, people really don't know where these interest rates are going to go. And guess what? For the past 3 or 4 years, I've been thinking, interest rates are going to drop, and they haven't. So, what the heck do I know? I'm in the business. I talk to people every day, and I don't know. So 30% or 32% say interest rates are going to go down. 30% say interest rates are going to go up. Now, fear of losing their job. Not concerned, 75%. So 75% of people are feeling pretty safe at their job, while 25% saying they're concerned. Now, there is the government shutdown, which the longer this government shutdown goes on, the more havoc it will have with real estate. Now, I had the last pod that we talked about that there's not a huge impact on the government shutdown. The biggest impact so far has been the flood insurance. So certain areas that have, high flood areas, are impacted a lot more. But the longer this government shutdown drags out, the more impact, the more effect it has. And now they started laying government workers off, and not laying them off. Now they're talking about, just terminating their position altogether. So that's where that job concern comes in. Most people don't work for the government, so 75% say, hey, they feel pretty good, while 25% say they're concerned. And in some of those areas, remember, real estate's local. If you're in the Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, that's going to be, higher impact, higher numbers as far as that. So Fannie Mae, every month, they come out with their, home sentiment. What do people think out there, with the market? And guess what? We've been, having a tailwind here of negativity since, 2022, when interest rates really started jacking up. Hey, if this was 21 or 2020, when interest rates were super low, everybody was thinking it was a great time to buy, great time to sell. So, hey, that's where we're at. the future, we don't know where it's going to go. Also, Fannie Mae is coming out that in 2026 they believe interest rates are going to drop below 6%. It's going to be the high fives, is what they're predicting, but they will be in the high fives. And guess what? We're getting pretty close right now to that. We're hovering in the low sixes, and it really depends on the loan that you have. Also, credit scores, loan size, are you buying a single family, multifamily, investment? That all factors in to where your interest rates are. But hey, interest rates could be in the high fives right now to the low sixes. Once again, depending on what you're doing. So their prediction next year, it's going to be closer to 6% or in the high fives all of next year, which hopefully that will help, especially with that affordability and just that mental state of saying, hey, interest rates are now back in the fives, even if it's 5.99, hey, I'm getting an interest rate in the fives. Now, what is going to happen with the Fed? Because we can't have a show without talking about the Fed. There's the CME group, which is the Fed, watching tool. They follow the Fed and they do predictions on what the Fed is going to do. So on October 29th is the next Federal Fund meeting, and our Federal Reserve meeting, and there is a 96% chance that they're going to cut rates by 0.25%. So 96% chance, cut rates 0.25%. And Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, he just was on an article talking about, they're going to continue lower rates. They're more fearful of the job market because remember, the Fed has a dual mandate, price stability, so low inflation and full employment. So they're more worried about that. So they are going to continue to lower rates. So that's what they're saying. And now December 10th is the following one, and there's a 95% chance they're going to cut rates again, another 0.25%. So if that happens, the Fed would have had cut, the last three meetings, 25 basis points, 25, 25, so a total of 75, which hopefully that will encourage the markets to, reduce rates. Now, what the Fed does doesn't directly impact mortgage rates, because a mortgage is a 30-year mortgage-backed security, and that is a bond that is bundled and then sold in on Wall Street. So it's not a direct correlation, but they do follow each other when it comes to that. So hey, if rates come down, it cannot be a bad thing. It can only help, and especially with people with that pent-up demand, because there's a lot of people who want to buy, but they just don't feel it's the right time, or it's much more costly to buy than to rent. So if those interest rates come down a little bit, appreciation continues to slow down and remains, slightly, like 1 or 2% up or flat. That will really help with affordability. So, just a really quick little pod here, just talking about Fannie Mae sentiment, what people are telling them, what's going on as far as the market's concerned, and that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube. I air on YouTube. The Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Also, leave a comment. What do you think about my new podcast room? It's official. I'm over 40,000 subscribers. So I figured, we have to step up the game a little bit. So I have a brand new podcast room. Super excited about it. And it looks really, really cool. So leave a comment. Super important there. Do likes, really helps the algorithm. And remember, this show is everything real estate, no limits. Hope you enjoy.